Hi, this is Shawn McGill. I wanted to just touch base with the audience and listeners to let you know that Sharon and I are taking a little deviation from the Two Old Sexperts podcast. What this podcast has definitely allowed us to see was that we have more work to do in the area of sexuality. Through the process, what we've discovered is that a training opportunity needs to exist. So we've developed what we're calling the Sexuality Practitioner Program. This is a professional development program designed to prepare the student to serve individuals with complex needs related to sexuality. The scope of this training prepares the students to complete various sexuality assessments and train on abuse prevention and safety, but to also work with the team members to address and support those with these complex needs. All students are going to receive consultation and mentorship with both Sharon and I, which we feel is valuable and important because we want to really focus on building the capacity. When was it? Back in June of 2022, was it that we met for dinner? I happened to be in Scranton. We met for dinner, and I started kicking around the idea of this podcast, and we committed to it. It was like we hadn't seen each other in years, and this
Yep.
pulled us together as lifelong friends, and even more than that. I mean, and you're just like my soulmate on the level of things,
It's exactly how I feel. Yep.
you know,
It's
we talk a lot about intimacy, and that goes to speak about the intimacy that you can have with another person without the physical aspect of that intimacy.
exactly. Yeah.
And this has been a wild, fun ride, and we've been reaching people and we've been doing the work, but we want more.
Yes, we do. And I think about when I first sort of entered this world as the early intervention project coordinator, building a system for little kids with disabilities. Well, that was more than 30 years ago. And those little kids are now adults and, some maybe people we support. But what are we giving them? What are we helping them with? What do they need that we give them, and that's what we talk about, the things that people are uncomfortable with. And I often think about the families of those little kids who wanted so much and such a bright future. And I look at those same parents now and they still want to protect their kids. And often they feel that protecting them is not giving them information, particularly about sexuality, because if they know the information, they may be more interested in it and then they can get hurt. They'll be vulnerable. But it's exactly the opposite. The more information and understanding people have, the safer they are, the more in control of their lives they are. And I think that's what a big part of this certainly is just continuing to be supportive. I mean, at this stage of my life, started out in this working with the little guys and and now we're working with adults that are sexual beings, and how can their life be as full as it can possibly be, and how can we help those that support them, both families and staff, to look at their own issues, set them aside, and help these people to have full, wonderful, good, decent lives.
What's interesting is we started almost in the same way, and that was working with children.
Yep.
And those children got older. And one thing we know, toilet training, talking, walking, just about everything is delayed when it comes to people with disabilities. Not almost, but these things can be.
Yeah. Right.
That is never delayed and often comes early is the firing of hormones. So I think for both of us, we had to learn as much as possible because there wasn't a whole lot out there. David Hensberger, there have been things along the way, but
Yep.
you're really a pioneer. And that's what I keep saying to you, you're a pioneer. And that's why I love you, but I wanted to pull from you as much as possible. When we sat down together, you were turning 80 years old.
And
And
now I'm 81, which I find very funny.
candid with that, but it is really important to me because you still have so much knowledge, but you still have so much love and passion inside of you that I feel is absolutely essential when we're talking about aspects related to sexuality.
Yes.
We're in a crisis. we've been in a crisis when it comes to the rates of incarceration for people with disabilities, the rates of abuse for people with disabilities, the number of investigations that we're seeing. And so I feel like we're pushing forward with this sexuality practitioner program and other things too, to just try to be a part of the solution. But I think long term, it's not just professionals working in the disability world, but it's going to be parents eventually. It's going to be teachers, because
Yeah.
as I said, and we have talked about on the podcast, there are things from birth and even to kindergarten through, graduating and then into adulthood that we can be and we should be teaching people with disabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I think about people, and there could be a whole other book just on people we've worked with, and that how profoundly their lives have changed. And I don't mean, you did it or I did it, but there was a process that intervened in their life that opened up doorways for them and helped people around them to see them a little bit differently. And I mean, I always think of the one lovely man who was 40-ish, and he was like to play with the little kid next door, and they were concerned about that behavior. But when talking to him, I asked if he had a boyfriend or girlfriend, and he said no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, because I'm retarded. This was, 20 years ago when that term was used. And like that, what did that have to do with anything? But for his family, that was the issue. No, you're retarded. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. And he never did. He never did anything. And he could have, who knows what he could have done with his life. And there are countless, countless stories like that. And
those stories, so many of those stories we tried to tell through the podcast, and people are listening, people are responding. We're really eager and pleased to be doing this. I can't imagine a better person to be doing this with. It's here, and I'm pleased that it's here, because I feel like, again, our legacy is not the work that we did. Our legacy is teaching other people to do the work.
exactly, to help them to do, just I always say it, just you have to get out of your own way. And you can do that. Oh, that's why I felt that way. Had nothing to do with this person. It was my own stuff. But just getting that into your head makes all the difference in the world to the person, and certainly the person that's being supported. And yeah, I hope I can do this until forever more.
If you're interested in learning more about the Sexuality Practitioner Program, please be sure to visit www.shawnmcgillmsw.com. That's www.shawnmcgillmsw.com. Or you can check out the Shawn McGill Consulting Facebook page. And as always, we're happy to answer questions by dialing 412-781-3829. And let's hope that we'll be able to continue in some capacity with the podcast, because we certainly have enjoyed doing it, and hope that we can continue to reach audiences throughout the world.
Ooh.